Hawaii in Maui.
John and Amy here, paddles up.
Wish we could turn this around, you guys, so you can see this, but
Yeah.
we are coming back from the west side. We're the west side. And just wanted to drop in. We've got a subject, probably a lifelong subject, I don't know, but that we want to talk about with you guys. And we're coining it the psychological prison of religion. And
It's a long deal.
yes, and you know, when we've been out of the system for quite a long time, and we've got friends that are coming out of it in layers, and when you hear the stories and you're kind of brought back into it, and you're just like, oh my gosh, you realize, like, wow, this literally it's a psychological prison that makes, it's the illusion that this thing is so big and that you are in so much trouble with God, and that it hinders you. It kind of goes back to the old story, right, about the elephant. How do you train an elephant? You know, you started off as a baby and put the rope around its leg and with a little peg, and then when it gets older, it doesn't realize how powerful it is because it's been brainwashed, and so it could leave at any time and be free, and it's more powerful and stronger than the circus owner. But because of the psychological prison, it remains. And so when we were dipping back into this with our friends, again, we were just like, oh my gosh. To us, we're like, this is so ridiculous. You know, it's such child's play. It's such a small sandbox. It's, you know, but we remember when we were in it at the time, it's such a psychological war. I had a meltdown. I had an anxiety meltdown. I had where I couldn't stop shaking. I had, because you're told so many things, and it's, the worst is that you're told you're going against God's will, and you're going to lose your anointing, and you lose your call, and you're in trouble with God, and you get shamed. You know, you get shamed by the pastor, the organization, the leadership, and all the members cut you off, and now you're dealing with silent treatments and all these different ways to manipulate. And you know, it's back in the day when this was happening and we didn't have all the understanding about narcissistic behaviors and patterns, passive and aggressive, and
You just thought it was all the devil.
Yeah, you just thought it was all the devil or you, and not realizing you were dealing with narcissists in leadership. And we just heard a podcast just the other day of the statistics again, and it's mind-blowing of how many narcissists sit in the seat of leadership in a church organization, because it's the perfect petri dish, as you will, culture that feeds a narcissist, because they get a position of power and they have a bunch of people that want to be of service. So you get a bunch of empaths together, and they're wanting to help, lay their life down for the mission and the cause, and
Supply.
and it just feeds that supply. And we all know with a narcissist, they've got to look good and have the image, and they have the gift of charisma, so that just ties people in even more, and it just becomes a wicked cycle, and you don't even realize. It's like Paul, you know, who's hoodwinked you, who's bewitched you back into this system. And it's crazy.
You know, the thing about a prison, just thinking about this, is it's the psychological, mind-bending brainwashing of someone incarcerated. It's you after a while, you begin to adjust to your small confinement.
Yeah.
And then everything inside of that cell conditions you to believe that this is reality. And then those that are in solitary confinement inside the system, it's even worse, because they begin to believe that the outside world is their inside world. And then you're really stuck in this loop. And then if anybody tells you anything different, then you're like, no, this is my reality. So this is why you have so many people underneath this religious spirit that really, it's what Jesus said to the Pharisee, the blind leading the blind. It truly is blinding. It really is this brainwashing blinding that says that, look, if you leave here, you're in trouble with God. You're usurping authority. You're not listening to the pastor, and therefore you're going to come underneath the weight of judgment, or a number of things that you're told, right? But the problem with that is that it's man's doctrinal system, their penal system, and their belief system that says this is the way it is. And guys, think about this. Over 40,000 different denominations and climbing because of somebody's opinion about what they believe truth is. And so you have all these different isms and schisms and doctrines and belief systems and theological twistings that somebody believes that that's absolute truth. Well, then they're going to believe that, okay, God's speaking to me, and if he's speaking to me through this belief system, then it is 100% fact and truth. And when we do that, then we close ourselves off from being teachable to see that there is unlimited knowledge in the tree of knowledge. The problem is that they're living out of a tree of life, the tree of knowledge. They're living out of the tree of knowledge. The tree of life is unlimited. The tree of knowledge is limited to what man comes up with.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? So the tree of knowledge says, this is the doctrine that I'm sinking my teeth into, and if you disobey this, you're in trouble with God. I'm going to go ahead and put God on this. See how twisted this is? And then the poor vulnerable empaths coming in, the believers, especially new ones coming in, they're like, oh, okay, well, you're the authority of God speaking to me.
Yeah.
And so I have to listen, or God may give you the smackdown, right? It's just complete BS.
Yeah.
Belief systems and everything else in that label.
Yeah, I know. And it's amazing to me that we forget the very system that put Christ on the cross was that religious Pharisaical system. Yet we fail to see that we come under that same old spirit just because they slapped the word Christ on it, or New Covenant Church, or whatever. It's like, guys, we've got to sniff that thing out and taste the fruit. Does it smell and taste like our beloved? You know, Jesus said, my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. So the question is, which voice do you know stronger? The voice of religion or the voice of your shepherd, the voice of your lover? And you know, again, taste all things, test all things, discern all things. Go back and see the parallel of the Pharisaical behaviors, isms, all their isms, and take a look at your modern day system that you're in, and it kind of wakes you up. And like we've always said, guys, there is absolutely nothing wrong with meeting as a community in a place, in a gathering, and having really good quality leadership. Leadership is of God. We've got callings and things. It's just, are they leading from a place from among and being of service, or are they leading from a place of building their empire and shaming you and berating you and controlling and manipulating and using you for their call? Just because you question something, you know? Yeah. There's a lot of well-meaning people that question things, and a leader should not be intimidated by questioning. The problem is if it's built on egoic structures, then their ego is going to be threatened, and guess what? Their ego is going to react instead of respond. The spirit responds, the ego reacts. And so anytime you're getting a lashing, it's not God. No. That's their own egoic conditioning that says that you have to listen to me because I'm the authority figure, and if you don't, you're in trouble. So here's the question. Like, who's right out of these 40,000 denominations? Like, I said to one pastor one time, I go, okay, so I get in trouble with you. This is hypothetical. If I get in trouble with you for something that I, was genuinely innocently doing and, wasn't trying to stir the pot on purpose and trying to make everybody's life miserable, I just did something and then you didn't like it, so therefore I'm out of the worship team, for example. Okay? Happens all the time. So what happens if I go down and say, okay, well, I'm done with this denomination. I'm going to go down to the Presbyterians, the Baptists. Am I still in trouble with you? Am I in trouble with God? I may be in trouble with you, but am I in trouble with God? If the Baptists believe something completely different, am I in trouble with God? And the pastor didn't know how to respond. It's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Yeah, you're in trouble with me and my denominational fruit, but if you go down the road to the baptized people down there, the baptizers, the Baptists, and you join their party and you do their thing, well, then you're not in trouble with them because they don't believe what I just believed in this denomination. Do you guys see how this becomes quite political? It's maddening. How it becomes quite political. You got political parties and religious parties, and they're two wings of the same bird, really. It's the same spirit, because it's the spirit of separation, us and them. loyalty to a fault, not questioning things and policies and protocols and all that kind of stuff. So we're here to give a shout out to kind of bring some awakening and clarity and permission to tell you guys the grass is better out there.
It really is.
Than the dry, crusty, limited brown grass you've been chewing on in a stagnant religious group.
Yeah. Now that stagnation can serve to life to a degree, right? That the tadpole lives in the cesspool of the pond for a little while, but then it jumps out of it once it comes of age. You know what I'm saying?
Once it grows,
becomes a frog.
Once it grows some teeth, no.
So it does serve its
run.
purpose for a moment. You know, maybe and remember, this is awakenings. We have awakenings, many awakenings throughout our journey. It's not just a one-time shot and you're done. Like a lot of people believe, they think, oh, well, I'm awake and I just had revival inside and I'm awake now. I'm like, I am ascended, you know, I'm spiritually mature, and then they think that it stops all of a sudden, like I've arrived. No, you haven't. You've arrived at a certain
at the next level.
Yeah,
get ready.
End times. You came to an end times, and now it's time for another awakening to go to the next end times of the next end season.
Yeah, it's like grades in school, right? You learn what you learned for third grade, and then you advance to fourth grade, and fifth grade, sixth grade, and you go, you know, all the way through that into college and then into mastery, and it just, we're here to learn, to grow, to expand, and what we take with us, right, is our inward development. These are all props out here, you guys, to teach you and train you. Just like Peter Crone's quote said, life, people, and circumstances are there to mirror to you areas you're not free yet. So even if you're stuck in the prison of the psychological religious abuse of what's going on, it's there to wake you up, to get you mad enough to see, oh my gosh, why am I giving my power away to this? This does not taste like my Savior. This does not taste like my beautiful, you know, encounter I had when I was first saved with the Lord.
The oneness inside. It doesn't reflect the oneness that we are.
So, I'm telling you guys, you're free. The only thing holding you back is the limiting. It's the psychological abuse. And so, how do we get free of that? By awakening, by seeking truth, by really doing the work, instead of allowing and just hook, line, and sinker believing what your pastors told you, or some of the other ones have threatened you, or your close friends and relatives using their Christianese and scriptures at you. You know, do the work, do the test. There's so much information online, you guys, to really reveal the truth. I mean, and that's all a part of the journey, is finding your way through it and coming up and out, and not losing your love for God, and we're more in love with God than ever, you guys. I mean, and we've found so much rest of heart and freedom.
Oh, man.
We used to have so much anxiety, and we were caught up in a whole thing, repenting for every little thing, right? Every 5 minutes, every 1 minute, you're repenting for this, repenting for that, because you're under so much fear and constraint of what religions taught you, that this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, you know?
Then you feel like God is this big as your denomination, and that's it.
Yeah.
Once you find out that God is the God of humanity and the cosmos, and that you are one with that,
and everybody's your brother and sister,
then you're like,
they're all at different levels.
I've been deceived here. So you don't know if you've been deceived while you're in it, because you're blinded.
Yeah.
But once your eyes open, and then now you want to know, and a lot of people just want to know as they're making the transition, since we're transition specialists, if you will.
Yes.
We're spiritual transition specialists, kind of. But once they come out, they just want to know, hey, am I going to be okay with God? You know, because they're being threatened by these spiritual figures going, well, if you leave here,
or family members,
you know, you're gonna hit a brick wall, and then you're gonna come back, and then we're gonna have to do this big deliverance session over you because you've been listening to lying spirits. No, the lie was you've been deceived in a little box that said that you had to stay in that box, or you're going to be in trouble with God. I mean, where do we come up with this stuff? Well, we come up with it through our own hand-me-down religious traditional doctrines.
Of agenda.
An agenda, and then you mix the wounded ego in there with a leader. Oh, Lord!
Yeah, and then you stir a couple scriptures in there to confirm it and twist it, and
Then the
got
narcissist
the
comes out
solution.
because they haven't healed their soul. And then the narcissist comes out and wants a supply. And then you go, oh, you know what?
Yeah, supply and demand.
Supply
Let me
and
tell
demand.
you, demanding for
And
sure.
what does the good old book say? Love does not demand its own way.
There you go. On that note.
On that note, Kokua.
We
So-
will return to this subject because this is a long-going subject. Because,
We will always touch base here because so many people are waking up
yeah,
and they're going, whoa. Now,
Is
we're
it
gonna
safe?
say this one more time for the religious mind that we are not against church.
Nope.
That you heard us say it. You heard it here. You
Yep.
heard it from her. You heard it from me. We are not anti-church.
Nope.
We are not anti-gathering. We are not anti-people.
Yeah, we're going with what the Lord said. Test all things.
We are anti-institutional incarceration.
Yeah.
Hello.
And bad culture and leadership.
There you go.
and
the
protocols.
narcissist leaders, we still want to see them get rocked and get healed and everything, but chances are if you're full-blown narcissist, it would take an absolute miracle from God to deliver that person because they never, ever think that they're wrong.
So moveon.com.
So moveon.com.
Set yourself free. Give up the keys, Lee, and set yourself free.
All right, we love you
All
guys.
right, talk soon, guys. Bye.